Imagine walking into the lobby of one of the most luxurious five-star hotels in the city. The kind of place where the chandeliers are made of crystal, the air smells like fresh roses, and the guests arrive in black cars with drivers who never smile. Now picture this. Amid all the wealth and shine, there's a man quietly pushing a mop across the polished marble floor. His back slightly hunched, his uniform worn from years of use, but his movements steady and precise. Every swipe of the mop is careful, almost respectful, like he's caring for something precious. This man is no stranger to hard work. At nearly 70 years old, with wrinkles deep across his forehead and calloused hands that tell a lifetime of labor, he's spent decades keeping this hotel spotless. To most people, he's invisible, just the janitor. But to him, this lobby is like a second home, a place he takes pride in. And then click, click, click. The sharp sound of high heels cuts through the comm. Heads turn. Striding in is a woman wrapped in designer clothing, her bag sparkling with gold accents, diamonds glinting from her fingers. She doesn't just walk into the room. She owns it, or at least she believes she does. Her nose slightly lifted, her eyes scanning everyone as if measuring their worth. She stops. Her gaze locks on the janitor. At first, there's silence. Then, with a dramatic sigh, she sneers. "Excuse me, what is this doing here?" The entire lobby stiffens. Guests pause mid-conversation. Staff freeze behind the front desk. She points her perfectly manicured finger right at the janitor. "Why?" she demands. "Is there an old man in dirty clothes cleaning the floor while I'm checking into a luxury hotel? This is supposed to be a classy place. How embarrassing." Her voice drips with disdain, loud enough so everyone hears. The janitor straightens slowly, resting his weight on the mop handle. His eyes, tired but still full of quiet dignity, meet hers. And in a calm, steady voice he replies, "Ma'am, I'm just doing my job." But instead of letting it go, she scoffs and laughs, tilting her head back dramatically. "Your job? Your job is to stay out of sight. People like you don't belong in places like this. I shouldn't have to see that when I walk into a five-star hotel." Gasps ripple through the lobby. A family sitting nearby exchange uncomfortable glances. The receptionist lowers her gaze, clearly ashamed of what's happening, but too afraid to speak up. Yet the woman isn't done. She turns to the manager, who has hurried out from his office after sensing the tension. "Get rid of him," she snaps. "Right now. Fire him. This is unacceptable." The manager hesitates, clearly torn. Everyone in the lobby can feel the weight of the moment. The janitor doesn't plead, doesn't argue. He just sets his mop against the wall, gives a small respectful nod, and begins to walk out. He leaves behind the grand lobby he had polished for years, his steps slow but steady. He may have been humiliated, but his dignity remains untouched. But here's the part no one expected, especially not the arrogant woman. This janitor wasn't just an old man with a mop. He was hiding a truth so shocking, so powerful, that within 24 hours, the very same woman who mocked him would be on her knees, begging for forgiveness. Don't go anywhere. The twist in this story is something you'll never see coming. The janitor left the hotel lobby that night without a word. No anger, no bitterness, just silence. But to those watching closely, there was something unusual. Because instead of heading down the back hallway, like staff usually did, he walked right out through the main entrance. Straight through the revolving glass doors, past the luxury cars, and into the night. No one knew it yet, but that quiet walk was the beginning of a storm that was about to shake the entire city. The arrogant woman, meanwhile, basked in her victory. She smirked, whispering to the manager, "That's more like it. Don't ever let people like that ruin the atmosphere again." With a flick of her wrist, she strutted upstairs to her suite. To her, the story was over. She had humiliated a man and gotten away with it. But behind the scenes, a very different story was unfolding. The next morning, the hotel buzzed with tension. The staff whispered among themselves, about the humiliation, about how unfair it was. Some even spoke of quitting if the hotel refused to stand up for its most loyal worker. You see, what the woman didn't know was that the janitor wasn't just an employee. He had worked there for decades, longer than anyone else. He was like family. He had seen young bellhops grow into managers, watched brides walk through the lobby with tears of joy, and consoled staff when times were hard. He was the quiet heart of the hotel. But the biggest secret? The man everyone thought was just the janitor was actually the original founder of the hotel. Years ago, he had built the place with his own hands, starting from nothing, cleaning rooms himself when he couldn't afford staff, polishing floors at midnight after long days of meetings. And though he had eventually stepped down and handed over control, he never lost his love for the place. That's why he returned in secret, wearing the uniform of a janitor, to stay close, to stay humble, and to remind himself of where he came from. And now, after years of working quietly in the shadows, this woman had mocked him. That night, he made a call. A single call that would change everything. The following evening, luxury cars began to pull up outside the hotel. But these weren't the usual guests. No, these were powerful men and women in tailored suits, stepping out of black cars with tinted windows. They were investors, partners, and city officials. And every single one of them had come at the request of the man who once pushed the mop. Inside, the arrogant woman lounged in the bar, sipping champagne and laughing with a group of her wealthy friends. She hadn't given the old janitor another thought. To her, he was nothing. Forgotten. But then the room fell silent. The sound of polished shoes striking the marble floor echoed through the bar. The old man entered, but this time, not in his janitor uniform. He was dressed in a tailored black suit, his presence commanding. The staff stood taller the moment they saw him. The manager rushed over, nearly tripping in his haste, and bowed his head respectfully. The woman's smile faltered. She blinked, confused. "Wait, what's going on? Why are you treating him like that?" The old man turned his eyes on her, calm, steady, but with a weight that made her shift uncomfortably in her seat. And then, with a voice that carried through the entire room, he said, "Because this hotel is mine." Gasps filled the bar. Glasses clinked as people froze in shock. The arrogant woman's champagne glass nearly slipped from her hand. She looked around desperately, waiting for someone to laugh, to tell her it was a joke. But no one did. The janitor wasn't a janitor at all. He was the billionaire founder of the hotel. And the woman who mocked him was about to face the humiliation of her life. And what happened next would leave the entire city talking for weeks. Don't miss this, because the twist that follows is the ultimate taste of karma. The woman sat frozen in her seat, her cheeks flushing red as the entire room's eyes turned to her. For the first time, she didn't feel like the most powerful person in the room. She felt small, exposed. The old man, no, the hotel's founder, stepped closer. His voice was calm, but every word struck like a hammer. "You see, madam, I built this hotel brick by brick. I polished these floors before you ever walked them. I cleaned these rooms when I had no staff to help me. And last night, you mocked me, because you thought I was beneath you." The woman swallowed hard, her hand trembling on the champagne glass. "I didn't know. I thought you were just a janitor," he cut in, his eyes piercing hers. "And if I were, would that make me less of a man? Less deserving of respect?" The bar was silent. Staff members stood taller, proud of the man who had always been their quiet protector. Even the wealthy investors watched with admiration. The woman shifted uncomfortably, trying to laugh it off. It was just a misunderstanding. A silly mistake. But before she could finish, one of the investors, a stern-looking woman in a grey suit, spoke up. "No mistake. We all saw how you treated him. Your arrogance says more about you than it ever could about him." The arrogant woman's friends slipped away, embarrassed to be seen with her. One by one, they left her side, until she was alone at the table, her power crumbling in front of everyone. Then came the final blow. The hotel founder raised his hand, and the manager placed a folder in it. Inside was a blacklisted guest list. Names of those who were banned permanently from ever stepping foot in the hotel again. The founder opened it slowly, and added her name in bold letters. The woman's eyes widened. "Wait, no. You can't do this. Do you know who I am?" "Yes," the old man said firmly. "And that is exactly why I must." The crowd erupted in murmurs of approval. For once, the tables had turned. The arrogant woman, who had spent her life looking down on others, was now the one everyone looked down upon. She tried to protest, but security was already at her side. Not with aggression, but with quiet finality. They guided her out, her protests echoing through the grand marble halls. And as the doors shut behind her, the founder turned back to his staff and guests. His tone softened. "Let this be a reminder," he said. "We rise not by what we own, but by how we treat others. Every soul who walks through these doors deserves respect, whether in silk or in rags." The staff clapped, the guests nodded, and the atmosphere in the hotel transformed. That night, people didn't just dine or drink. They left with a story. A story of humility, justice, and a man who never forgot where he came from. And yet, the story didn't end there. Because what happened after this public humiliation took an even more shocking turn. Stay tuned for the aftermath. The hotel returned to its usual calm, But something had shifted that night. The staff whispered about it in the hallways, guests shared the story over dinner, and the tale of the arrogant woman spread far beyond the hotel walls. But for the founder, it wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about pride. It was about something deeper. Later that evening, he walked through the lobby, pausing when he saw one of the younger janitors scrubbing the floor. The boy looked up nervously, expecting correction, but instead, the old man smiled warmly. "You remind me of myself," he said quietly. "Never forget, this place is not built by the rich who visit, but by the hands that care for it." The boy's eyes lit up, realizing he wasn't invisible. He was part of something greater. Meanwhile, the arrogant woman sat alone in her luxury penthouse across the city, replaying the humiliation again and again. For the first time, she had to face a truth she had always avoided. Money cannot buy respect. In the days that followed, articles surfaced online about the incident. Guests praised the hotel's integrity. Bookings skyrocketed. The founder didn't just protect his legacy, he strengthened it. One journalist asked him later, "How did it feel to humiliate someone who tried to humiliate you?" The old man paused, then answered softly, "I didn't humiliate her. She did that to herself. I only reminded her that respect is the true luxury." And with that, he walked away, shoulders steady, heart at peace. The story of one arrogant woman's downfall had become a legend of humility. A reminder to all who heard it that no matter your wealth, no matter your power, the measure of a person is how they treat those they believe can do nothing for them. And maybe, the next time you walk past someone you think is just a janitor, you'll remember this story. Respect is free, but losing it can cost you everything. If this story touched you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so more people can hear it.